You know, when we think about the day the dinosaurs died, our minds usually go straight to the end. The colossal asteroid, the massive impact, the world plunging into darkness. But honestly, that's only half the story. The really amazing part, the part we're going to dive into, is what happens after the world ends. It's the story of the survivors, the ones left to pick up the pieces of a broken planet.
And that's the thing, right? These massive extinction events aren't just about what we lose. They're about what gets created in that empty space. So yeah, this is a story about a truly catastrophic ending, but it's also about a pretty remarkable new beginning.
All right, so let's go back. Let's put ourselves on that day. The asteroid has just hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and within hours, Earth is a completely different world. The immediate aftermath is, well, it's almost impossible to truly wrap your head around.
We're talking shockwaves that just circle the globe, flattening everything in their path. The sky isn't just dark, it's filled with glowing, superheated rock and debris raining back down from space. It is, for all intents and purposes, a vision of hell, and it's happening everywhere, all at once.
This rain of fire triggers global firestorms that rage for days. And look, this isn't like a forest fire we'd see today. This was the surface of the entire planet being flash-broiled, turning whole continents into one continuous sheet of flame.
The temperature on the ground shoots past 1,000 degrees. At that heat, absolutely nothing large, nothing out in the open, could have possibly survived. The world that had belonged to the dinosaurs for so long was literally being baked.
And then, after all the fire and the fury, comes the quiet. A deep, profound silence. All the roars, the chirps, the rustling of a planet teeming with life, it's all just gone. All that's left is smoke, the crackling of embers, and silence. The 160 million-year reign of the dinosaurs was officially over.
But the fire, believe it or not, was just the opening act. What came next was a slower, more grinding catastrophe. All the dust and soot from the impact and the fires got blasted into the upper atmosphere, creating what we'd basically call a nuclear winter, and it completely blocked out the sun.
The world was transformed overnight. What was a thriving, sunlit paradise became a cold, gray, toxic wasteland. With no sunlight, photosynthesis just stopped. Plants died off, and the entire global food chain collapsed from the bottom up.
Try to imagine living in this world for a second. The air has this awful, metallic taste, like you're constantly breathing in wet ash. And the rain, it's not life-giving anymore. It's acidic. It's corrosive. It actually stings your skin and eats away at whatever few leaves are left.
So it sounds impossible, right? How could anything live through that? But here's the thing. In the darkness, life doesn't vanish. It just gets very, very small. So who were these unlikely heroes who made it through? Well, the survivors were the ones who could hide. We're talking about tiny, fist-sized mammals hunkered down in deep burrows, protected from the heat. Ground-dwelling birds, the last living dinosaurs, really, scavenging for whatever seeds they could find in the ash. Crocodiles just waited it out, submerged in mud and water. And deep, deep in the ocean, microbes near volcanic vents probably didn't even notice the chaos happening on the surface.
The old rules of survival were completely thrown out the window. If you were a picky eater, you were done for. The only ones who made it were the generalists, the ones that could make a meal out of beetle grubs or fungus or whatever roots they could dig up. It wasn't about strength anymore, it was about being small, adaptable, and opportunistic.
So for months, maybe even longer, the world is locked in this freezing, perpetual dusk. But slowly, inevitably, things begin to change. The whole tone of our story shifts from one of just pure survival to the very first glimmers of hope.
And this is the turning point. The massive clouds of dust and soot in the atmosphere finally begin to settle. And for the first time in what must have felt like an eternity, sunlight starts to touch the surface of the planet again. It's weak at first, just a pale light, but it is enough.
And with that light comes life. The very first plants to reclaim the scorched earth are ferns. You can think of them as the ultimate disaster specialists. Their spores can lay dormant for ages, and they thrive in exactly this kind of disturbed, nutrient-poor soil. In fact, scientists find this dense layer of fern spores in the fossil record literally all over the world. It's like the planet's signature that life is starting over.
Okay, so we've got plants again. The foundation is being rebuilt. With the dinosaurs gone, the world is essentially an empty stage, just waiting for new actors. And into that void, a whole new class of animals is about to explode onto the scene.
And the pace of this recovery is just staggering. In only 100,000 years, which is a blink of an eye in geological time, the
the number of mammal species on Earth doubled. As soon as the environmental brakes were off, evolution just slammed on the accelerator. The world wasn't just recovering, it was being completely remade, with our furry ancestors taking center stage.
And just to give you an idea of the scale of this change, the average mammal that squeaked through the extinction event was about the size of a rat. But within 700,000 years, they had evolved into creatures weighing 50 kilograms or more. That's a 100-fold increase in mass. It's like going from a squirrel to a wolf in what amounts to a geological heartbeat.
So ultimately, the new rulers of Earth, our ancestors, they weren't the strongest, they weren't the biggest, they were the descendants of the small, the patient, the creatures who knew how to hide and how to wait, the very traits that made them survivors in the first place. Being small, adaptable, unassuming became the very foundation for their incredible success. Their story wasn't defined by domination, but by simple, stubborn endurance.
And that really leaves us with a fascinating question, doesn't it? In the long story of life on this planet, when the chips are really down, what actually matters more? Is it the power to rule the world, or is it the resilience to simply outlast it?